I have some brand new Star Trek fan fiction for you. And this one's going to make you mad. And not for the reasons you think. This is very, very timely. Very timely. I like some comments at the very end. Right here, I have a painting of an alien that I made to go along with this. You guys ready to go? Captain's log 3897. Commander Spock lay in the emergency department of sickbay with an IV in his hand and a trach tube down his throat, unconscious. He collapsed on the planet Golan below during a routine mission to the trade center of the city of Theos. Kirk entered sickbay and was shocked to see Spock lying on his back on the exam table. "What's wrong with Spock?" Kirk asked. "He was fine an hour ago." "I did an initial CT scan," McCoy replied, "and I found some sort of parasite attached to his heart." "Parasite?" Kirk asked, deeply concerned. "Is there anything you can do?" "Not at this time. We need pre-authorization from Starfleet Insurance before I can proceed, and that could take days or weeks." "Are you effing kidding me?" Kirk snapped. "He could be dead first." "Don't worry, Jim. If he codes, I can do what I can do to save him." "Then do something." "I can't as long as he's stable," McCoy replied. "His vitals are within limits, and as long as they stay that way, I have to follow procedure." "But this happened during the mission. Isn't he covered by workman's comp?" "Maybe. That's why we have to call this in first. And we've been on hold for 3 hours," McCoy replied. "I can't believe this crap," Kirk said, shaking his head in disgust. "So we have to wait until his condition deteriorates before we can do anything? What kind of healthcare system do we have?" "I have no control," McCoy replied. "I'm sorry, Jim." In tears, Nurse Chapel spoke up. "You have to do something. I can't stand back and watch Spock die." "He's not going to die. At least not yet," McCoy replied. "Get the surgical team ready in case we have to go in. Right now, all we can do is wait." "I want to speak to whoever's in charge," Kirk snapped. "I said we're on hold. Nobody is getting through right now," McCoy replied. "Then I authorize you to do whatever you need to do to save Spock's life," Kirk yelled. "It doesn't work that way, Jim. I'm sorry. We have to follow procedure." Kirk stepped over to the exam table and looked up at Spock's vital sign monitor. "That looks normal to you?" Kirk asked. "For a Vulcan, yes," McCoy replied. "Well, almost. His heart rate is a bit slow and his oxygen concentration is at the low end of normal, but within limits." "Is there any other way?" Nurse Chapel asked. "Since he is Vulcan, he would be under their co-insurance as well, and they could do whatever they can. But we are days away from the nearest Vulcan base." "Telehealth," Kirk said. "Can't you perform surgery under a Vulcan surgeon via the video monitor? You would be assisting, and Spock could be covered by Vulcan insurance." "That's an idea," McCoy replied with a smile. "Nurse, get in contact with Vulcan base and see if that would work." With a huge smile on her face, Nurse Chapel ran off to contact the Vulcan base and ask about the procedure. "Damn, Jim, if you weren't a Starfleet officer, you could work in healthcare." Just then, a red light began flashing on Spock's monitor, followed by a constant beeping sound. "What's that?" Jim asked, looking at the monitor and back at Bones. "Spock's oxygen level has dropped below normal. We need to increase his input." McCoy repeatedly tapped on a button on the vent and moved the O2 level up. The beeping did not stop. "What's going on, Bones?" Kirk asked, noticing the concerned look on McCoy's face. "I can't get enough oxygen in Spock to make a difference." "Is it the parasite?" "Could be. Without another CT scan, I won't be able to tell, and we'd have to move him to radiology to find out. I can't risk moving him." "What does that mean? What are you going to do?" Kirk asked. McCoy shouted, "Get me a surgical team. In here, stat. Jim, you're going to have to leave." "No, I'm not going anywhere." "Then get on a sterile gown and stand back in the corner while my team gets to work," Bones snapped. One of the nurses placed a gown over Kirk and placed a surgical mask over his face and a cap over his head. She also placed non-surgical gloves on his hands and instructed the captain to keep his hands by his side during the procedure. The surgical team surrounded Spock and McCoy, The surgical team surrounded Spock, and McCoy cut deep into Spock's chest. "Rib spreader and pickups," McCoy said, and a nurse handed the equipment to the doctor. "Holy crap," McCoy said under his breath, revealing the alien parasite. "What is it, Bones?" Kirk asked, deeply concerned. "It's spread all over his chest cavity, into his lungs, and into his cranium," McCoy replied. "If only I could have got to him sooner." "What are you saying, Bones?" Kirk yelled. "Spock is as good as dead. There isn't anything I can do for him now. If he only had better insurance, he might have lived." Just then, the vital signs indicators dropped, and Spock died on the table, a victim of Starfleet corrupt health insurance system. Very timely. Leave me some comments on this one.